is Alison and I'm delighted to be coming to you from the Morgan Hotel this evening for the launch of the Dublin office of the Thai Children's Trust. Now joining us this evening is the Director Andrew Scadding, and I'm also looking forward to talking to Kate Introna from the Sarnelli Orphanage in Thailand. Now, I'm delighted to be sitting here and welcome to Dublin with Kate Introna, who is the Volunteer Coordinator and Health Advisor for Sarnelli Children's Orphanage in Thailand. Welcome to Dublin, Kate. How are you today?
Well, thanks, Alison. It's lovely to be here. I'm really happy to be here in Dublin.
Now, on behalf of the Thai Children's Trust, we are so delighted to have you stay in Dublin, and you brought the weather with you, so thank you very much for that. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You're originally from Australia.
Yes, I'm from Australia. I'm a nurse by background. I trained as a midwife, as a surgical nurse, and the last 14 years I've been working in palliative care. But I've done a complete turnaround and now I work with kids.
And I have to say, I work with kids myself, and it is a very, very rewarding job. How did you end up coming across the orphanage in Thailand?
I wanted to volunteer. I wanted to go to Africa, actually, and I took a year off work 10 years ago. And I thought, I just want to go and be told what to do. I didn't want to have to make any decisions. Just look after kids, just do whatever was needed. But it was difficult to get a placement, so my mum actually rang around some Catholic churches in Sydney, and they happened to contact Father Mike, who's in Thailand at Sarnelli House, and said to him, would you like a nurse? And he said, yep, send her up. So I arrived in Thailand, not really wanting to be in Thailand, with 25 kids with HIV. They'd never had a nurse there, they'd never had their medicines, and Father Shea went to America for 3 months and said, could you start them on their medicine? So it was a bit of a shock.
Well, I suppose it was a big deal for both the orphanage and the children that you were really the first person in the medical practice to visit, and what a difference you have made. One of the things that struck me about your story was the fact that you stayed and all the kids started on antiretroviral, am I right in saying that, medication, and you left and returned 5 years later, and all the children were not only thriving but not one of them had lost their life, which is amazing.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and I guess that's one of the challenges when you go to a different culture, a different place, and you set up a system and you train the staff, and then you leave and you wonder, will it continue, because the key to these medications is that the children have them twice a day, every 12 hours. And when I went back a few years later, I went back on holidays, there were the staff with white coats on, really taking on the job, really taking on the responsibility of being a nurse and giving these kids their medicine. So it was a wonderful thing to see how well the medication worked and how these kids just thrived.
And what made you want to go back? You left 5 years later. You obviously really enjoyed it, having not wanted to be in Thailand in the first place. Why is it so important for you, and why is your heart there?
I think when I first went there, the children were little, 2-3 years old, and it was a whole different setup. I mean, everyone thought these kids would die, and a lot of the staff looking after the children, there was a sort of a Buddhist karma thing that these kids, that it was their lot in life, and so they weren't shown a lot of affection, they weren't held, and when I went there and I just picked up a child, of course they responded, and I just fell in love with them, and so my heart stayed with them when I went back to Australia.
And I suppose in local communities we talk about fear an awful lot, and the fact that the fear of the unknown, and they don't know if they're going to catch HIV and AIDS, which is the lack of information and education. Do you feel now that Thailand has come a long way with the fact that they do understand the disease a little bit more, and they're embracing the children into their culture, or do they still have a long way to go?
There are still issues. I mean, we're 600 kilometres from Bangkok. We're really in the rural heartland. And so like any country where we're far away from the big cities, information doesn't get to the country areas. So there is still stigma and there is still prejudice and people are still fearful, but not as bad.
I suppose the proof is in the pudding, though, when you can say to them, look, these kids are still alive, not only alive, but thriving and doing great. So they must at least see that there is hope now.
They do, and some of these kids are now teenagers and they're reconnecting with families that pushed them away, that abandoned them, that didn't want them, that were scared of them. And now they're going back and meeting those families, and their families are realising, oh, these kids are okay, they look fine, they don't look like they've got HIV, you know. And
that's an absolutely brilliant thing now, isn't it, for them and even for their self-esteem. And how are these kids doing? Are they going to school? You know, I read that kind of it's becoming a very self-sufficient place, and they grow their own vegetables and they're being well educated. But this obviously costs a lot of money.
It does, yeah. Now we have 160 kids. They all go to school. They go to a local Catholic school because the government school wouldn't take them because of the HIV. So we have to pay school fees, we have to pay tuition, we have to pay food. So we have 50 staff working for us. And so the cost of running the orphanage and keeping the kids sheltered, educated, it really does cost money.
I mean, we were talking earlier that the cost of running the orphanage is in the realm of about $1 million a year, and it is 100% funded by contributions and donors. So it really is so important that the money keeps coming in. And like with any charities, it's a constant process, you know, and you don't know from one month to the next if the money is going to keep coming. And I suppose what we're learning today from meeting you is just how important that money is and what money can do. And you really are such a massive success story. I mean, it's such a pleasure and an honour to meet you, because I always find meeting people like yourself who have made such an enormous difference in people's lives. You know, you must be like an angel sent from heaven.
Not every day, no. But no, it's a great joy to be there with the kids, and I get so much more than I'm sure that I give them. You know, you give a little bit of love and you get so much back from kids. But yeah, we do need money, and we get all the money to run the orphanage from outside Thailand. Although a lot of Thai people help as well, a lot of families. So Thai Children's Trust has been fantastic. They've consistently given to us every year, but we need to constantly try and encourage people to give, and so we encourage them to sponsor a child. And through Thai Children's Trust, sponsoring a child for £18 a month can help us help these kids.
Now, there's a lot of people maybe watching this video today that would have never heard of Thai Children's Trust or indeed Sarnelli House. So if they want to find out a little bit more, is there a website that they can log on to?
Yeah, there is. There's Thai Children's Trust website, www.thaichildrenstrust.org.uk, and Sarnelli House also has a website as well.
Well, thanks so much for talking to us today, and the best of luck, and enjoy the rest of your stay in Dublin.
Thank you, Alison. It's a pleasure.